Oh no, I'm a chef. I could have fought. Whatever. I could have actually fought the soul challenge. Oh well. Did we start early? Kinda. I will admit this is probably somewhat going to be my preferred starting time for a while. Okay, this character gets 65% bonus gold. What does stress do, by the way? Getting hit darkens the screen. Oh. I gotta try it. Okay, that's not that bad. I was realizing it's like, no, I should probably figure out what that does before I screw myself. So here's the question. Do we want to do... I don't know. Chef is like the one character I don't want to give up anything. I could give up my spell, but I don't want to... I don't think I want to give up my stew. There aren't a whole lot of talents better than stew. What the hell? Oh, that was a nice twofer. Well, I hit somebody else. Ow. Ow. It's fine. Enjoy fire, suckers. There we go. Yeah, healing is healing. Only thing I could maybe see switch is the weapon. Yeah, I could switch the spell. Because, like, the spell, switching this for the fungal shots would be really good. You know, give me something longer range. But this gives me verticality, so it's not so bad. Let's see. Oop. Nah, Murder Chef is the way to go. I definitely want to do a couple of runs. I wonder if I could get a character that has like a well over 100%. Let's see. Gain here. There it is. It's like, I know there's an entrance. I just don't know where it is. There it is. Yeah, I'll find the secrets. Luckily, this game, they're incredibly well marked. Nope. I was going to try and ricochet them back. Didn't work. But also, it's fine. Fairy chests still kind of end up in that territory of, like, would be nice, not terribly necessary. And just... we're just gonna have glaucoma constantly, aren't we? Well, so be it. Ooh. Spin kicks do more damage. Weapon does more damage, but has a 2-second cooldown. Spin kicks do armor break, or every 5 seconds we do more damage. That one's nice, because I'm not hitting enemies that often. And so being able to pop a foe for large quantities of damage every 5 seconds is pretty good. Especially with that fire, which I think does like half my weapon damage. Think so. Yeah, so I think this is going to be like an official money run. No progress, just... well, whatever progress I can accrue. Oh. There's a rude dude here. Hello, rude dude. You don't last long, do you? Eh. There we go. I love the ricochet. Hey, what do we have? Yeah. Is Lachesis' measure actually that helpful for me? Not Not really. Let's grab a Lotus Petal. See what that does. Increases your mana pool. Let's see. Oh, is that... Wait, gear. Deal more magic damage. Not really that helpful. Unless fire damage is actually tied to it, at which point, that's great. Oh. Hell yeah. Probably the easiest variant of this I could ever do. And nothing special, but no negatives. I'll take it. Alright, more empathy. I'll get those challenges done quick. I wonder if there's something up there. It probably is. Let's see. Oops. Then you. Nope. Balls. Ow. Be gone, Cretan. Bone Cretan. Boner creature? I don't know. None of that sounds good. And it does. But I know I always get weird looks for saying that. There we go. I got plenty of snacks. I got too many. I probably should actually do this backwards. Instead of being here. Actually, do we have a teleporter? We do. 324 HP. I might just, chuck myself into the sun tower and just deal. Wait, what am I doing? Not the money. Because this is a money run, but maybe what I should do... Yeah. What I should be doing is Stygian Study first. Then Sky Tower, and if I ever get too injured, then I come back. If I can. Coming back is always a bit of a doozy option. Nope, that didn't work. Boom. Worth it. There's money. How did I miss it? I don't know. Nope, that didn't work. There we go. Yeah, this place, I knew it and I did nothing. There we go. Wow. I didn't even realize it was a mimic. Just didn't matter. The chef don't care. Ow. Okay, good time for stew. Yeah, this is the trick. Get out of here, Doomvis. Okay, now there's a chest in here to the top right. There we go. That's an actual chest, not a mimic. I'm so glad it's marked on the map. I don't remember if mimics were nearly as easy to spot in Rogue Legacy 1. It felt like they weren't. Wait, were there? There were mimics. There had to be, yeah? I'm trained by games that everything is looted by hitting. When it isn't, I get angry. It'd be kind of nice if you could hit chests open in this one. Hey, there's a Fruit of Life. And I got Stew to offset the damage. And... nah. And I can't re-roll either of these. Wait. Let's go back here. The Rebellion War poisoned the land, which in turn created this infestation. Now the infestation threatens to destroy the kingdom. The cycle is vicious. The lightning storms are getting closer, but we lack the manpower to build the windmills to disperse the ash clouds. My private sanctuary is now mired within those clouds. The bridgeway torn apart by the electrical winds. The ancients and their philosophies were right. We are all connected, and not just this world, but all worlds. And it is this Stygian that binds us together. If someone is reading this, come seek me out. I would like to chat. My soul is bound to a bridge on the eastern parapet. That bridge is still standing, though it exists not in this world. Use your will to pull the bridge into existence. Huh. That's interesting. Ow. I deserve that. There we go. Let's see, wonder what is your favorite art style? Oh boy. Trying to think of. Is it called surrealism? Oddly enough. There's a famous painting that most people refer to as Man Looking at Mountain. I really like that painting style, if we're talking classic art styles. If we're talking like any art styles, that's a little bit more broad and problematic. In a way that it is difficult for me to put my finger on any one singular style. If we want to talk about video games, then probably the answer would be Supergiant. I absolutely adore Gen Z's style. I remember her work back when she was doing freaking Gaia Online stuff. And then she ends up being, you know, the core art influence for one of my favorite video game companies of all time. Like, Hollow Knight also has a really good art style. Ooh, Into the Spider-Verse is fantastic. Salvador Dali, is that surrealism or is that a different one? I forget. It's been over 10 years since I took an art history class, and for whatever reason I thought the man staring at the mountain was actually called surrealism, and the Salvador Dali thing was actually a completely different style that should have been named surrealism, but I don't remember, and I probably am operating under wrong memories anyway. Dali is definitely surrealism. Then I'm wrong. What's the art movement that the man stares at mountain art style is from? Dang Doomvises. Oh, well, they're dead. And I have soup! Nope. Let's eat more soup. If it can heal me up, then I will eat. Well, that didn't work. Alright, there's the bridge. Oops. Let's see. Do you mean wander over the sea of fog? Maybe. Okay. So it looks like it can't do anything with that one, but that's fine. No, as far as classic art goes, I don't actually really like a whole lot of it. I thought the Dutch masters were kind of nice. But I found a lot of like old art that a lot of people like to point to as like, you know, these were the masters of their times. I always found them to be particularly unimaginative. Their techniques were good, but most of them were kind of boring. And it was very clearly like landscapes done for rich people, or worse yet, portraits. So like Sistine Chapel, undeniably like a masterpiece in its own right. Boring as heck for me. I cannot look at that stuff and actually be interested, unfortunately. I wish it could be, but I find most like classic art, or even like art for art's sake, kind of uninteresting. Yeah, the market was different back then. Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure most of my my art teachers would disagree with me vehemently. Who do I really like? Shoot. I'm blanking on the name. Other guy that I liked as far as like great American artists from more classic time. It's not exactly from a more classic time, but the guy that did those really lovely Boy Scout paintings back in the day, those were real good. He had an incredible amount of style. It was like stylized realism. It was really neat. Nah, can't get that one. So what was I doing? I was going back this direction. Because we had the Clotho Spindle, which I could go for the 10% crit chance? Maybe. I'll do it. I'll lose a little bit of HP. Art is honestly such a weird area where it's just personal preference on whether you think it's amazing or you just know it's a well-drawn landscape. Yep. And I think that's kind of fine. Everybody has their favorites. But for me, I've always loved, like, really... I mean, call it escapism, I guess, but I always have really enjoyed art that shows, like, other worlds and realms or kind of things that I wouldn't be able to just go see in real life. I realize that's a bit reductive, but I find often when I'm looking at, like, a beautiful, realistic landscape painting, there's kind of that inherent feeling of, like, yeah, but I could actually just see this in person, or something similar. And, you know, I'll often go out of my way to do so. Ow. Did not work. That's fine. And it's much more impactful to see somebody's, like, imaginings of something that is truly not real. And so, as far as, like, periods of art go, I really just love, you know, just kind of the modern era. And I know people often, like, bemoan that, like, somehow art has gotten worse over the last X number of years because, I don't know, there's more people doing it or something. But you don't really see a whole lot of, like, classic or, you know, new masters coming around. I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that, yeah, there are so many people, it's kind of hard to call anybody a master. And because of supply and demand, there's, you know, only a couple people that really... I knew that was a mimic and I did nothing. I was like, oh yeah, that's a mimic. Ow. Well, I should probably eat my stew. I think the fact that it's easier to get your art out there, it makes it seem like there's a lot more artists now than before. Back in the day, there was no internet to show off your art. Yep. And I think even just beyond that, there are more artists, proportionally, but because it is so much more available to see. You know, back in the day, it probably had the same amount of density, give or... no. Chances are, even still, there are more artists today just due to humanity being in a more comfortable place. We don't have to spend as much time surviving, and so it's easier for people to invest their time and energy into artistic things, and I think that's actually a really good thing. You know what? I'm just gonna not... There we go. Doozy of a spot, but it's fine. You're not a Doomvis. But so I think there are more artists proportionally today than there ever were. But because you can see all of them all at once, and not just the ones that are kind of confined to your locale, it seems like there's even more. There are way more artists today in the US. We've gone from 75% farmers to 1%. Yep. I know I've heard people like bemoan that and say like, I miss the days when everybody worked hard and, you know, lived off the land and some other things, but it's like, you can't really put that, genie back in the bottle that easily. You know, that most people aren't even cut out for farm life, and we don't really have the farmland for it anymore, nor do we need to. Also, due to pop growth, there's just simply more artists. It's true. And that shouldn't really be bemoaned. Like, there's always that, that kind of derision towards, like, you know, we don't need artists. You know, it's one of those, like, frivolous careers that people go into. And it doesn't really help society, but just like, I mean, how many movies and TV shows do you guys watch? Because pretty much all of those are entirely reliant on artists or video games and a bunch of other things. Okay. Over here to the left. I was arguing with my mother about this a little bit, in terms of, the current argument of like whether or not Americans should subsidize college for people. And I'm very much in favor of the idea of like, yeah, you know, everybody needs help. And it was kind of the question of like, well, even, you know, even art majors. And it's like, I mean, yeah, you know, our culture is so much richer and more varied than it used to be. And a lot of that boils down to, you know, so many more people investing their time and efforts into the arts is actually like really good. You know, entertainment has evolved dramatically over the last 20, 40 years. And that, you know, if you limit the amount of people that can do that, you know, that quickly makes it so that only certain classes of people actually get access to such things. Where am I? Oh, we're back in Castle Agartha. Oh, just like one of the random weird entrances instead of a main one. Neat. Ow. Rude. I'll use this opportunity to heal for a bit, seeing as we're here. But yeah, as automation increases, we just need more stuff to keep us occupied. And unfortunately, what's happened to some degree is that just instead of reaping the reward of that, most of the benefits of automation still end up concentrating very much, you know, in the rich and powerful's hands, and not so much, you know, in such a way that it actually benefits the whole of society. But that's kind of a separate argument, but that, like, it will be very difficult. It would be a very boring world if we made art hard to do and limited who can do it. I think there's a lot of people that aren't cut out for it. I think that's very valid. And I think a lot of our society needs to learn how to teach people to do other things. You know, part of the reason why I went into art myself was just because on a education level, art was the only thing that I could really do in high school that felt like it was productive, that wasn't... I mean, I'm super glad I went into the arts, and I love making artwork. Like, it's very satisfying. But in high school, you're really kind of taught history, English, math, science. And those are like your four core things, and they're very important. I won't disagree with that. but they're not exactly good at teaching kids that, like, hey, you know what you could also be? Any of these other things. Let's just go back to the entrance on this and clear a little bit of the go back to this and go through the castle for a bit until I get back up to max HP. I guess I could actually just drink some stew and just go. Alright, let's do that. We want to go to the Sun Tower. If I can live. But yeah, why are trade schools so looked down upon? And I think that's part of it. And I almost want to say that that's actually a product of like the 80s and college culture and a bunch of other things. That for like the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, getting a college degree was pretty much a passport to being upper middle class, or even upper class for some people, especially like computer programmers and whatnot. And so the idea of going to trade schools was seen as kind of lesser because it didn't make as much money back in the day. This is just gonna hurt, isn't it? There we go. Luckily the burn damage is still super effective. Let's just eat twice, but we might actually need to like bail. This area hurts. I need more armor. But so I think for a lot of people, trade schools are still suffering from that perception of they're not good jobs. And a lot of people haven't like escaped from that. But I would also go so far as to say that a lot of kids don't even know what they want to go into, and trade schools might be too early. And that I'd much rather see like our education system kind of mush both together into a much more sensible... Whoops. Nope, that ain't gonna work. Mush both together into a much more sensible, like, hey, you don't have to just go into science or math or English or history. You know, these aren't the only things that you do in life. These are just the building blocks by which quite a number of careers are founded. You'd be surprised at what's considered a trade. Let's see, being a chef, baker, and even barber is considered a trade where I live. I know barbers kind of are, but a lot of the U.S. kind of operates under the assumption that if anybody can do it, therefore it's not worth it. And so like plumbers and shit, like not everybody can do that. Same thing with electricians. But it's still seen as like an uneducated job, which is stupid. You know, anybody that thinks that is usually just kind of ignorant in my book. But from like an education perspective, it's kind of looked down upon. Okay, there's some skelemen here. Ow. And I have no soup. There we go. I don't even want to be here. Not really. And so a smarter system would be like, hey, you know, this kid seems to be really good with their hands and they're not that interested in like this or this. Let's figure out like what kind of good with hands career set would actually be viable for them. But no, it's just, oh man, this kid's bad at, this kid's bad at math. I guess they're bad at math. But as part of this, I guess it always felt like there was a lot of blame being shifted towards the kids for not figuring their shit out early. And I've always questioned whether or not like 18 is even the right age to tell somebody like pick a career. Made more sense back in the day. But I've had quite a number of classmates over the years from college who dropped out or like spent way more like many more years than they needed to because they had no idea what they were doing with themselves. Oh, nope. Oh, please give me some meat. Nope. I think I'm actually gonna die here. I have no soup. Okay. We have one soup. Okay, got him. There's like a little bit of money over there, but nope. Go here. Just need a teleport point or something. Or like a bit of food. Okay, volcano boy. Get away from that. Please give me food. Nope, no food here. That works. Cripes. Okay, got it. Slick. Well, you want to know how to force me to be good at a game? Put me on death's door and have me sit there for a while. Okay. So these things get, they explode if you're sitting on them too much. But if I'm just bouncing, I'm okay. There we go. I'm just going to let it burn. Send that off. Being a chef is still by and far one of the best classes in this game. I still stand by it probably being the best. Okay, we got something big up there. And this is a fairy chest room, but I don't care too much for it. No thank you. Reminds me of the censored run. There we go. Oh, more soup. That doesn't set things on fire. That's unfortunate. This is the journal. Whatever's in here. Soup recharges time-based? Nah. Whenever I pick up a food item or a potion, it recharges by 1. 18 days since the rebellion. A fool is the man with nothing to learn. Philosopher Noahs insists I continue this journal therapy. I admit he's knowledgeable, but his diagnosis is built off of false assumptions. He believes the mind of an estuary is comparable to that of a commoner. That is the flaw of his reasoning. We are not the same class of creature. The pressures that would bring him to his knees would not so much as cause me to sweat. He does not understand how much work it takes to rule a kingdom. My subconscious is pure, and my mind is sharp. Despite 8 sleepless days, I am still more astute than he'll ever be. Wow, egoist. Best combat class is not a combat class like Knight or Valkyrie, but a chef. Yup. Also, thank you, Ethan Evan, for the 22-month resub. Thanks so much. I don't know. I don't want to, like, go too far on the whole education thing, just because that often ends up being this kind of weird negative thing one way or another. Like, I know from my perspective, I was actually like a really, I don't want to say like a really smart kid, but like generally good at most of the core disciplines, but it was just terribly boring. And it's like, hey, we're going to learn about pre-calculus today. Yeah, why? You know, please tell me what this is for so I can have like a mental image of what I'm doing. No. What do you mean no? No. Like I had the worst teachers. And so then I got into physics and it was kind of calculus all over again. But all of a sudden the problems were framed within the context of like real world problems, and suddenly it became a lot more interesting and I got rather good at it mostly. because at last, hey, what would you look at that? You know, these problems are useful for something. And like, I don't know. I think I would have enjoyed and benefited from school a lot more if it was always framed from the perspective of something, something that's like vaguely useful in the real world. So instead of just English class, you know, let's talk about, I feel like English would have been really good for kind of weird pseudo group therapy. Like I remember reading, oh come on, Catcher in the Rye. I don't actually know how to not. Oh, there we go. Probably grab that. Oh, there we go. Kind of. Awkward. But that's fine. There is also another one over there. I'm not sure if I want it. Come on. And it's nothing useful, unfortunately, for me. Oh, it's okay. We'll got it. Let's see. Eat some soup and figure out where the heck am I? Wait, what the hell? Oh, there's a door up there. Shoot. Alright. Nope. Damn it. I didn't want to drop attack. I wanted to do this. Oh, is this room again? Honestly, not that bad. Wow, that's rude. I might actually just die. The fact that there's no teleporters in here is kind of brutal. Oh, okay. I know there's a chest on the other side, but I don't care. Ow, 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 ow. Big bad boner. Got it. Come on. I just need a potion. Okay. None of these are potions. Whoa. Those go through the environment. There we go. Let him burn. Get a little bit of HP. Nothing dangerous here. Come on, I gotta get a potion somewhere, yeah? No dice. What about up? Oh, thank you, teleporter. Now, is this... Yeah, this is the boss chamber. Oh. Looks like getting up there is going to be a doozy. Let's just go back to Access Monday. Get some HP back just a little bit. Oh yeah, I haven't even broken this stuff. Well, let's see if I can find some adequate healing. On the plus side, I do a ton of damage. Aha! Thought me an easy target. You thought wrong. There we go. Why is Chef just the best? I don't actually need an answer on that one. It's the ability to deflect projectiles, the burn on the attacks, the limited charge healing ability. Ow. No, that ain't gonna work. Wow, yeah. There we go. What? 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 Fine. I'm not going for it. I even got in there and I still took damage. There must only be a couple of platforms in there. There we go. One of the other big things about the chef that some of the other classes don't have that's kind of big is the chef can attack while moving without slowing down. Or if you do slow down, you don't slow down much. Alright, what are we up against? Interesting. I got one of them. Got two of them. Rad. Yeah, that would have been a little bit more obnoxious if it wasn't for the chef just being chefy. Someday I'm just going to turn on flight and go up to the top of that just for the hell of it. Just to see if there's anything up there. Feels like there's gotta be, right? And it's the same reason I'm good at math. Teachers made it seem somewhat fun. I was reasonably good at history for a while. Oh, right. That's the wrong button. It wasn't like my top subject, but I wasn't terrible at it. I remember being pretty passionate about things. And then I switched school districts, and their standardization for history made it just boring as hell. Alright, now it's time to memorize all of the Mongolian leaders. Okay. Why? Because you need to know it for the test. That's not really helpful. What did they do? Doesn't matter. I mean, we actually did get to learn what they did. But then when it came time for, like, the test, it was just like, alright, now how well did you remember these people's names and dates? What? I could never get into that. What is this again? Oh, that was easy. I think this is supposed to be more of a challenge. But, oh, I'm healing 7 HP now. That's big. Yeah, standardized tests. Test your ability to pass standardized tests. They do nothing else. Yup. I'm real good at standardized tests, but they are so boring. Honestly, standardized testing in general is probably one of the biggest black marks against education systems in general. I realize that, like, it's somewhat important for, like, making sure that students in, like, you know, Boston are being educated at about the same caliber as somewhere else. But, and, like, it especially makes sense for, like, math. But, like, history and some other stuff very much feels kind of like, this is just a waste of time. Oop. No, my money. Wait, no. We get it back. I guess if it falls into the drink, I get it back. But so, after that specific teacher, I actually got, I didn't do very well in his class because he was boring as sin. So I ended up getting shuffled into the less smart kids class. I don't know, it was called C1 here. It went honors, C1, C2, and then remedial. And frankly, for the most part, C1 sometimes felt kind of remedial. But I think it was just because the high school I went to was, like, very aggressively, like, full of smart kids. Let's see. No, that's the Stygian study. We want to go up here and then go down. Gosh, I've got 30,000 gold. I guess I could have waited until I had some more healing charges, but you know what? At this point, it's just more valuable for me to do what I can in these rooms. Let's see, I might as well stew up here. But so they shuffled me down into the like less effective class, or the less smart kid class. I could go for the Hyperion Ring, but that would cut my HP pretty dramatically. And the benefit of that class was it was run by an old political activist lady. Not that old, but you know, she would do a lot of political activism back in like the Reagan era, and she hated Reagan. So she was pretty active, and she also did like civil rights and some other stuff. And so for her, she was teaching specifically US history, and it was really eye-opening to some degree. She'd be like, all right, so I'm supposed to teach you about like the Civil War, but let's talk about racism for a while. It was really nice. And I was like by and far her best student because I actually gave a shit. It was to the point where at one point she was like, hey, do you want to like go back into the honors classes? Because like you don't belong here. And I'm like, no, they suck. You're way better. What they should have done was had her teach the honors classes, but it was probably better that she was teaching the non-honors classes because, you know, then she actually had a chance at making the disinterested students interested. And frankly, I think she was a better teacher when she didn't have to worry about standardization anyway. I think that's true of quite a lot of teachers. It was real dire when I lived in North Carolina, because they were a like heavily disadvantaged by No Child Left Behind, and like that school system was pretty much doomed because of it. Teaching almost feels like art. It is. Like a lot of people think of teaching as just something kind of like weird babysitting. But like, there's no replacement for a good teacher. Oop, ow. There we go. Teaching a subject is also the best way to check that you actually understand it. Yup. Wow, that was effective. Alright, have I... Oh shit, I've actually cleared this place. Huh. Alright. I guess next order of business. Descend the tower safely. If possible. Yes, is possible. Let's see. Descend the tower safely. Go back to the bottom. Just because less damage than trying to go back up it. Oh, God. Oops. I'm going to take some damage here, aren't I? There we go. Alright, let's go back to the bottom, finish a grind run, and then fight the boss. This is almost a complete package run. Okay, so we want to... Actually, no. We just want to go right back down here. Yeah, so for people that don't know what No Child Left Behind is, it was really awkward, honestly, as a concept. And I could be quite wrong with the full implementation. I'm sure there's more complexity than I or, you know, people in the audience would give it. But No Child Left Behind effectively made it so if your school did well, you would get bonus funding. And usually did well on a standardized test every year. I forget what the name of it was. Was it MCAS? I don't remember. No, MCAS is the Massachusetts one. I didn't have to deal with it when I was in Massachusetts, really, but I really had to deal with it in North Carolina. But so effectively, if your school does well on the standardized test, you get bonus funding. If you don't, you get penalized. And so what it did was it effectively taught a lot of schools to you know, you have to teach the test, because if you don't, you lose funding. It was maps. It could have been maps. I don't remember. But so, for a underperforming school or something like that, all of a sudden, you know, you're being effectively punished because your students aren't very good. Conceptually, I think what it was supposed to do is weed out bad teachers and force schools to, like, cut down on bad education practices, but what it did was it forced most schools to just teach the test, not the students. And then, at least the school I went to, they would specifically suspend students leading up to the tests, or like send them home so they couldn't participate in the standardized testing. And so you had a bunch of these students that were effectively told they were less than valuable. And yeah, it also resulted in a lot of weird grade bloat, too. So you had students that desperately needed a proper education and better motivation in an education setting, more or less being told, you know, go away, we don't want you. Seems like an oversight. It was, but no one cared to correct it. And it did some serious damage to the American education system. Probably still does. Just I'm not in it anymore, so I can't really speak towards it. Ow. You hurt. Oh, please stop being invulnerable. That's just rude. And hurts. Soup! I originally wanted to be a teacher, graduating from high school. Admittedly, a lot of that goes back to the just not knowing what other jobs there were. It wasn't until, like, indie game development became a thing where I was like, oh man, going into game design would be fantastic. But yeah, just hearing about all the stuff teachers have to go through nowadays is like, no, I'm pretty happy with not. Just, nah. I'll still say, I think kids nowadays are still educated fairly well despite it, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, oh yeah, I can't just reflect those projectiles, rad. It feels like the internet is a really big equalizer when it comes to a lot of this stuff. For better and worse. There are some serious negatives to that, but I don't know. Every time I end up, like, in a conversation with a high schooler, I'm like, wow, you actually are a pretty smart kid. Then again, I do run into some where I'm like, oh, wow, you need some world experience, but I think that's kind of just normal. Ooh, do we want to? Yeah, we do. Because I got soup! Yeah. Problem with the internet as an equalizer is, depending on it can lead you to some very bad takes. It's very true. I was just thinking specifically from, like, my generation onward, for the most part, it feels like, well, the internet can definitely lead to some bad takes. I feel better equipped for, like, looking at stuff on the internet and, sussing out whether or not it's a bad actor or not, which is something I feel like a lot of people that didn't grow up with the internet don't have as a skill. But I might also be giving us too much credit. And it's just a, you know, when compared to fully technologically illiterate people, it's easy to just assume that you're smarter or more capable. Just, I've been in some arguments lately with people. What was the one kind of recently? Recycling. We were having a conversation about recycling, and personal responsibility was kind of brought up. You know, well, climate change is something that, you know, everybody has to be involved in. Wait, why did I hit that? I have no reason to do so. Boy, this area just is kind of... It was, like, really threatening when I was playing the original early access version of this, and then... And then now it's just kind of, wow, rude. Another? Yeah, don't mind if I do. I have plenty of soup for the time being. I will run out of soup. But it's still going to be helpful in the moment. But, you know, recently, I believe it was California, actually just today announced that they're investigating, like, plastic companies for their kind of sort of fraudulent, personal responsibility and personal carbon footprints were an invention of BP oil to shift perception of responsibility. Exactly. But so I was arguing with my mother, who might be nearby, but she very much was echoing much of that. And I'm just like, no, you don't realize, like, this was something that that was sold to us as a lie by these people. And, you know, I could definitely tell, like, she understood and she got it, but there was definitely still that aspect of, but people are still very, you know, responsible for, you know, the waste and whatnot. You know, people have to change to some degree. I think that is still very, very true. That people do have to change. So, like, for example, I will never ever buy like a Nestle product if I can avoid it. Nestle is an awful company, both environmentally and just ethically. And so, like, there is some personal responsibility that, like, we need to starve some of these companies out. But even beyond that, these companies are still very responsible. It's kind of like smoking. And, I mean, I think, frankly, even the smoking comparison is fairly apt. The whole personal responsibility thing, and how a lot of oil companies kind of reacted to people was spawned out of marketing practices from smoking companies, and, you know, how they controlled public perception for a while. Yeah, if people want recycling to actually be viable, producers need to make consumable products easier to recycle. Yeah. I also just like glass products better. Like, I don't know if it's a myth or not, but, you know, drinking like a Snapple out of a plastic bottle is just gross. I just can't do it. I don't know why the difference is like that tremendous, but it's there. Same thing with sodas and stuff. Like, I could maybe do a soda in like a plastic cup, or like poured from a bigger like 2-liter thing, but even then, it definitely has some kind of aftertaste or something. Phone companies miss removable batteries. Yup. Okay, so this guy's actually going to be the harder one. Shoot. Ow. That hurt. Luckily, I can just hit these guys through the walls. Oh, interesting. The icicle projectiles that sit there are actually still considered a projectile. So I can just smack him back. I didn't know that. That's weird. Let's see. Pepsi in a can is different formula than Pepsi in a plastic bottle. Really? I had no idea. I don't drink soda. That's the other thing. This just doesn't seem like it's worth it. Let's see. Problem I'm having with affordable recycling is your government solutions put higher taxes on things to reduce the cost difference. I might be able to do this one. Got it. Didn't get anything cool, but at least I can do it. Ow, rude. There we go. I think it's based on, gross. I think it's based on carbon tax logic. Ooh, crescendo. Interesting, but no. But, so part of the reason why they kind of do the expanded tax for whatever the product is to dissuade people from doing it. It actually works. It's kind of like if you raise the price of gas, a lot of people are going to be impacted negatively by it. But there's still kind of that inherent, you know, people that go joyriding, for example, might not as much. Because it's no longer, you know, as worthwhile and they'll find something cheaper. Same thing with like eggs, actually, at the moment. So right now we have bird flu going around, like really bad. And I know in the US, like chicken companies have like killed like 5 million birds, or like just a singular company did. Let's see. There we go. Refills our soup. And what that's going to end up doing is like really cranks up the cost of eggs for everybody. But free range eggs aren't going to be as affected, except for the fact that, you know, the demand is higher so they can charge more, which is kind of unfortunate in its own way. But so the entire point is it makes things that are not great more expensive. So for example, you know, plastic products, if you get carbon taxes on plastic products, it becomes more expensive, which is passed off on more people because it's supposed to incentivize people to buy the other stuff instead. What it really should be is a subsidy for the healthy stuff, but part of it is also we have tons and tons of subsidies for gas and oil and other things already, so more so it's just the government canceling subsidies on the not worthwhile thing. I don't know. This is a conversation that starts getting maybe a little bit too much for some people. And it's always definitely one of those that it's easier to argue from a place of privilege when it comes to, like, you know, eggs are more expensive now. You know, well, just buy free range, but free range was never worth it. Or, you know, wasn't affordable prior. And quickly the conversation becomes... I can't hit it. I can't hit those. Interesting. Damn. Oh, wait, no. I healed a full going into a boss fight, so I just don't need to heal at all here. Okay, where are we going? Up. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to not use soup for the rest of this run. And so, like, I know for me, it's very easy to say, like, just eat free-range eggs and, you know, drink oat milk. Skip the cow stuff. Don't eat meat. But that's still kind of expensive for people. Vegetarian is more cost-effective. Yep, kind of. Overall it is, though for most people, it's kind of is, kind of is not. Because there's enough meat subsidies that make vegetarianism slightly more expensive. Also because it's often targeted by fad diets and whatnot, so they can charge more. So, like, for the world, 100% more cost-effective. But at the moment, for people on a realistic level, nah. Or someone would tell me how to milk an oat. I mean, effectively, you just crush the oats into a fine paste. Ow. As far as I know, and then add water and some other stuff to make it more appetizing. Seems silly, maybe, but it's real good. Relatively easy to farm chicken eggs free range, though. All you have to do is make sure they have food. Well, you'll get a lot of eggs anyway. Yup. My neighborhood has like 30-something chickens just kind of strewn around it in various people's yards. We also have turkeys, but those are not as viable to cook. Or to raise. But we do have them. They're not as friendly if you go after their eggs, though. Okay, have I cleared out this entire dang map? That's good. That's good. There's like 1 or 2 chests that I haven't gotten, but they're gonna kick my ass if I do. Initial castle, actually. We didn't really finish with Citadel Agartha. Even if the meat is cheap, comes with minuses. Oh yeah. Do we have 2 boosted skeletons and one was guarding the other? Wow. Well, luckily I could just frying pan smack him. That would have been a brutal room for some people. I don't think my landlord would appreciate me raising a chicken in my apartment. This is very valid. There's the whole thing about some areas have fantastically low availability and variety of fresh food, called food deserts. Yeah, I guess erroneously talking about food deserts is like just lack of variety. Yeah, gosh, when I was in college, I was in kind of a frat, sort of a frat, and we had an advisor. Lovely guy. He was a huge fan of Walmart. He thought Walmart was like the best thing since sliced bread. He thought it was like the solution to affordable variety for people living, you know, out away from the suburbs and some other stuff, and so on and so forth. And he was like a really big proponent of whenever we'd, you know, visit his house, which, I mean, he had a nice house and some other stuff, but he'd always take us to Walmart to go buy whatever is some kind of like, you know, advocacy for, hey, look at how great Walmart is. I remember just being kind of put off by it because it was just like, we just buy a bunch of kind of icky looking steaks to like do up on the grill and some other stuff, and like no vegetables and just like gobs of ice cream, sure, but it wasn't great ice cream and some other stuff. I was always just a little weirded out by it. Okay, no jumping. Well, too late. But I'm here for health, not fairy chests. I don't know if the guy still holds his same opinions, frankly. I hope he doesn't. I think he's changed his mind. I'd use my local butcher. Oh, that'd be cool. We don't generally have local butchers around here, at least that I know of. Why do you need health? I don't really. But I'm trying to, Did I get him? No. I'm really just trying to sustain this run as long as possible, so that I can get every last speck of gold, and then we're gonna go fight a boss that I've never fought before and probably lose. You never know. There's one's like half an hour away. It's not so bad. I should probably look a little bit more. Need health before you challenge the boss. I actually heal back entirely up to full when I go into boss arenas. So in retrospect, like, I don't need health. I just was slightly injured, and I'd hate to run into like one of those stinky secret like hard enemy rooms that just pummels me to death. They happen occasionally, and they are cruel. I know any butchers around here that isn't a supermarket. Yeah. Remember you could use damage over time to kill the spike balls. That was great. I loved that. Personally, I'd love to see the killable spike balls come back. Just because fun. I thought food deserts were just for good food. So I think there's 2 different types of food deserts when it comes up in conversation. There's the real food deserts, which is just like you only have access to Walmart. Or, you know, 7-Elevens or something for your food. And then there's the second one, which is just like food desert, where you have maybe a couple of basic things, but otherwise it's, what the fudge biscuits? Estuary rad. Alright, Huh. What? How? Ow. Nope. Wow. Holy shit. That's rough. What the hell? Are we in a brain? I don't know. I think we were inside Sauron. Let's see. Archer? Ah. Archer with poison is not the worst idea. Yeah, that was definitely a glaucoma death. Let's see. So I could try for Perfectionist. I have no idea what that costs me. I like the idea of the Stinger, but it's not that great on the bow. Let's just reload these guys. So Synesthesia, Hector's Helm, or that. I don't know. We could try Lady Pepper here. Frankly, I was not expecting to win that run. I am much more just pleased with the fact that I managed to make the 45,000 gold from that run. That's what really mattered. Let's see, how we doing on time? I could do one more run of this before we switch it up, I think. Aim for the eyes. But yeah, usually an area that's considered a food desert if it doesn't have ample access to foods or stores that sell fresh food like grocery stores. Generally, food deserts' only options are either fast food restaurants or things like convenience stores. Maybe small shops with limited variety. Yeah, I would still go so far as to say that, like, if your primary and only grocery store is like a Target or a Walmart, that still doesn't really count, because they usually do not pull from the best sources when it comes to their food. Like, I remember buying milk from Target, and it was rotten, like, weeks before it was supposed to be. Or, like, before it was supposed to expire, and it was just like, yeah, this isn't great. What do we invest in? I don't know. Let's start with gear. Oh, fixed the pole yesterday. By the way, the hinges on the pole were loose because someone's been kicking at it. Wouldn't mind if you kept it up. Be helpful if I do. Be helpful to know I did a good job repairing it. Oops. I didn't realize he had something to say. Yeah, let's buy most of the available gear. Especially upgrades. Okay. Well, we're out of metal. Hey, thank you Voltoth for the 13-month resub. Tune in while just putting my dinner plate downstairs before I'm able to hear anything. See giant cosmic eyes. Gonna have some interesting dreams tonight. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm having a good day. Bought onions from Walmart last week and they started molding after 2 days. Didn't even get to use them. Ouch. I don't know if I want to buy all these runes though. I don't care about these as much. I want to buy that one, but I can't equip it. I don't care too much for retaliation. There's some other things. Let's see. So, we could probably use some weight capacity. And I know for a fact we need damage. Let's see. Oh, I should probably also work on gold gain perks, because that is actually helpful. There we go. So Synesthesia just gives me a kind of enduring fart line that shows me where I've been. Okay, I kind of love it. It's gonna get really messy, though. But I love it all the same. A good story never changes. This kingdom does not have a good story. You should fix that, child. That's fair.